Welcome to the Research Room and Archives at the Bruce County Museum and Cultural Center. Exploring the history of properties and their owners is a common activity here. This video is intended to share methods for discovering places of residence and exploring the history of properties. We'll also discuss the resources you can expect to use when you visit the Bruce County Archives. You'll first need to identify the property you wish to explore, ideally by its legal description. This may involve a few steps. First, if you want to discover where a person resided in Bruce County and for how long, we have several resources which may assist. Directories will provide lot and concession for rural properties, as in this 1895 directory. For town residents, the listings generally only state the name and profession, and in some cases a street name. Early voters lists give similar information. Tax assessment rolls can also be useful for locating properties owned by individuals. Local history books and Women's Institute Tweedsmuir community histories often tell us where people lived and the names of owners of properties as well. Finally, Census agricultural schedules are available on microfilm in the research room for 1851, 61, and 71. These list lots and concessions for rural residents. The 1901 and 1921 censuses also contain residence information in different places. On the Research Information page of the museum's website, in the Finding Aids section, you may discover more details about specific records available to view in the research room and archives. Once you have identified a property, you will need to locate its legal description, which is different from the street or municipal address. You may have that description already on a deed or tax invoice. Alternatively, you may use the Bruce County Interactive Maps website, which is linked from the museum's Useful Links page in the Land Records, Maps, and Geography category. If you know the street address, click the I Want To button, then choose Find Property Parcels By and Civic Address. I'll enter the Jubilee Hall Walkerton address here, and it will give the legal description here. The historic records generally refer to this part of the description. The RP part of the description is newer and not present in the older records. If you do not know the street address, you may open the Tools bar, click Identify, and click on a lot. Sometimes it may be necessary to consult an historic map as well. Many contain lot numbers to help confirm the legal description. Now, we're ready to start digging for information about the history of the property, starting with official land records. I'll use the Mackenzie Log House, now at the museum, but formerly located in Kinloss Township, Concession 8, Lot 19, as an example. In the Research Room and Archives, we have many of the original Land Abstract Index volumes, as well as volumes on microfilm, for most areas of Bruce County. They generally range from the mid-1800s up to the mid-1950s. In addition, through the museum's links page, you may now be able to access some of these records, including more recent dates, through the Ontario government's On Land website. The Abstract Index book was created by the Land Registry Office and records all transactions concerning a piece of land. Here we're looking at the Land Abstract book for Kinloss Township, Concession 8, Lot 19. It lists the type of documents such as deed and mortgage, the date, buyer, seller, and monetary consideration. The left-hand column lists the instrument numbers that were assigned to documents at the time of registration. We will have some of these documents at the archives as well. Looking at an original deed or mortgage can be helpful to establish a spouse's name or to confirm the sale price if not listed in the abstract. The Crown granted this land to Donald Mackenzie in 1874. This is known as a Crown patent, a document that is used to transfer Crown land into private ownership. Next, we see BNS, which means bargain and sale. This is the same as a grant or deed registered when Donald sold to his son Alex. Items crossed out generally refer to discharged mortgages. We can see here that the Mackenzie family owned the home until 1906 when Moses Thompson purchased it. So now what I would like to know is how long Donald Mackenzie was on the land before he obtained the patent in 1874. People were granted the formal right to occupy land in Kinloss Township as early as 1854. Norman Robertson's book, History of the County of Bruce, contains a transcribed notice of the opening of the land for sale. It includes conditions that must be met, usually over a number of years, before the formal ownership, in the form of a patent, would be granted. For example, 10 annual installments had to be paid, land had to be cleared at a rate of 2 acres annually for each 100 acres during the first 5 years, and a dwelling house at least 16 by 18 feet had to be erected. So it is possible that Donald was living on this land for 10 or more years before he obtained ownership. To view records created about the property before the Crown granted the patent, we go to a series of government land records called the Township Papers. They include occupation certificates, assignment of the right to occupy, certificates of settlement duties, and correspondence with the land agent. The originals are held at the Ontario Archives, and we have copies on microfilm here at the Bruce County Archives. Organized by property, there is a record related to Concession 8, lots 19 and 20 in Kinloss Township. It's an application for permission to occupy and cultivate with the view of purchasing. So this tells us that he was on the property by at least 1855. The next step in property research is often looking for evidence to support a date on which buildings were constructed. It's important to note that it is very common to complete research without discovering any official record or specific proof of a construction date. However, it is often possible to collect pieces of evidence that will support a reasonable construction date estimate. We may start with the census. In addition to information about the populace, census takers collected data related to agricultural activities, buildings, and lands. The 1861 census tells us a bit more about Mackenzie and the property. The agricultural census confirms he was farming on lots 19 and 20 of Concession 8 Kinloss Township. And on the far right side of the personal schedule, we see that he was residing in a one-story log house and that 2 families were in the house at that time. According to Schedule 3 of the 1871 census, the family owned 1 dwelling house, 1 barn or stable, 2 carts, wagons or sleds, and 1 plow or cultivator. Schedule 4 confirms the family's lot in concession and shares that they own 200 acres, 60 of which were improved. Their crops included 10 acres of wheat, 15 acres of hay, 100 bushels each of oats, peas, and potatoes, and 12 bushels of apples. Schedule 5 of the 1871 census gives details about the number of various kinds of livestock, as well as amounts of animal products like cheese, honey, and wool, and fabrics and furs made on the property. In some cases, there are notations in the far left columns of the personal schedules, as in this 1891 census. There is a notation in the houses inhabited column showing that the Reed family here lived in a wood house, identified by the W. The upper number means the house was 2 stories, and the lower number means 6 rooms. For village and town properties where agricultural census are less useful, tax rolls are a resource to consult. These rolls were completed annually and include valuations of real property. By examining the rolls for a number of consecutive years, you can see the usual pattern of increases and note sudden spikes in property value. Sudden increases may suggest that something happened, such as the construction of a home or the erection of a driving shed or barn, especially if it occurs at the same time that a loan or sale was registered in the Land Abstract Index books. Many researchers start looking at assessment rolls around the time of a sale, mortgage, or another estimated build date. They're looking for evidence to refute or support the estimate or guess. Estimated build dates may be discovered in valuation books, which are in our collection only for Southampton at this time. Or if you have MPAC documents, such as assessment or primary structure reports, these may contain estimated build dates as well. You may see which tax roll years are held in the Bruce County Archives collection for each municipality through links on the Research Information page of the museum's website in the Government Records section. Fire insurance plans primarily feature the downtown and nearby streets of towns and villages. These maps can reveal the footprint of the structure, types of business or industry present during a particular time period, and building construction materials. Most in our collection are dated sometime between 1894 and 1928. Photographs may assist in determining a date range for construction based on the environment surrounding the building. Keep in mind, however, that particularly in the 1800s and early 1900s, it was not common for people to take photographs of their homes. For many communities, average homes outside of the downtown area are not frequently reflected in images in our collection. You may search for buildings in our online collections photo section by address or by using terms such as a place name and the word house. For more tips on searching photographs and other materials in online collections, watch our online collections search tips video. As mentioned earlier, local history books and Women's Institute Tweedsmuir Community Histories are valuable resources in which to search for information about people and properties. Newspapers contain the local buzz, so you may find an article where a large new home was built for one of the doctors or lawyers. There are no indexes of references to buildings, so you will need to spend time browsing. On the museum website's research information page, you may see a list of newspapers available to view in the research room in the Finding Aids Local History section. Digital versions of mid-1914 to 1918 newspapers for Paisley, Port Elgin, Walkerton, and Wyerton are available in searchable PDF format through the museum's website. The John Weichel Research Collection contains newspaper clippings sometimes referring to people, businesses, or buildings. You may search an index of topics contained in those clippings through online collections. Many of the clippings concern Saugeen Shores and area, but other parts of the county are referenced as well. If you are interested in researching the history of a property, please feel free to contact us to confirm the resources available for your area and to arrange for a visit to the Archives and Research Room at the Bruce County Museum and Cultural Center. For information about long-distance paid research request services, please visit the Bruce Museum's Research Information page.